ஆடியோ இல்லாம இவ்வளவு நேரம் பேசிட்டு இருந்திருக்கேன். Okay, again let's start with essays 260. மைக் ஆன் பண்ணாமலே பேசிட்டு இருந்திருக்கேன், சாரி. ஒரு டெக்னிக்கல் எரர், அதுல ஒரு 20 மினிட்ஸ் வந்து வேஸ்டா போச்சு, டெலீட் பண்ணியாச்சு. திரும்ப ஃப்ரெஷ்ல இருந்து ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுவோம், ஓகேவா? Okay, now we'll discuss essay 260 questions. Question number 1, UVW and Associates are the statutory auditor of Moon Limited, a listed company, for the financial year 22-23. CA Uddhav is the engagement partner of the audit assignments. He was of the understanding that as per the requirement of standards on auditing, he has a responsibility to communicate with those charged with the governance the matters that are listed out by him. என்னென்ன லிஸ்ட் அவுட் பண்ணிருக்காரு? Auditor responsibility in relation to the audit of financial statement, planned scope, timing of the audit, அப்புறம் auditor's independence. Okay, next, which of the matter is not included in the list prepared by CA Uddhav? Discuss such matter in detail. As per SA 260, what is the responsibility of the auditor? To communicate to those charged with the governance about significant matters, and auditor responsibility, plan, scope, and timing of the audit, and auditor's independence. Now, the CA Uddhav is one of the matters not included in the above list, that is significant findings arising from the audit. Okay, what are the matter to be communicated in case of significant findings? Quantitative aspects of the account entities accounting practices, including accounting policies, accounting estimate, and financial statement disclosures. Okay, next one is significant difficulties encountered by the auditor during the audit. Okay, unless all those charged with the governance are engaging in the managing the entity. Okay, அவங்க தான் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட்ல இருக்காங்கன்னா you are not required to communicate these matters, that is significant matter arising during the audit that were discussed. Okay, மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் கிட்டயே நீங்க டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணிருப்பீங்க, that were discussed னா அவங்களே வந்து TCWG இருந்தா அவங்கள்ட்ட சொல்ல வேண்டிய அவசியம் இல்லைல்ல. So written representation the auditor is requesting is to be communicated to the management. Circumstances that affect the form and content of auditor's report, if any. Okay, form and content affected, எப்ப affect ஆகுனா auditor uses SA 701, 705, 706 and SA 720. Then the auditor's form and content will change. Okay, then any other significant matter arised during the audit, as per auditor's professional judgment, it is relevant for the TCWG to oversight of the financial reporting process. The communication of findings from the audit may include requesting the further information. What is the ultimate responsibility of the management? To provide the auditor about all the information, additional information, unrestricted access to the persons. Okay, so auditor may request the TCWG to provide additional further information. Okay, next, question number 2. Manidri நான் பேர் கொடுக்குறானுங்க, Manidri associate have been appointed as an auditor of JIN Limited, a multinational company dealing in spare parts, during the course of audit CAM. ஓகே, நீங்க இதெல்லாம் வந்து எக்ஸாம் படிக்கும்போது ஃபுல் நேம் எல்லாம் படிச்சுட்டு இருக்கணும்னு அவசியம் இல்லை. CAM கம்பெனி பேரு அதெல்லாம் வந்து இக்னோர் பண்ணிட்டு ஃபாஸ்டா வந்து முடிச்சுட்டு போகணும். ஓகேவா? இஸ் ஃபேசிங் மெனி ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ் இன்க்ளூடிங் த ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ் ஆஃப் நாட் கெட்டிங் desired information from the management. Accordingly, he has decided to communicate with those charged with the governance about significant difficulties encountered during the audit. CAM seeks your guidance on the matter which can be considered as a significant difficulties. Okay, last question now, give the guidance on matter which can be considered as a significant difficulty as per SA 260. Okay, what are the significant difficulties encountered during the audit? Management delay by the management to provide the information, or unwillingness to provide the information, necessary for the auditor to perform the work. Okay, the information is necessary for the auditor, but management is not willing to provide the information, or delay by the management, or unavailability of the entity's personnel. Okay, the main responsibility of the management is what? To provide all the information and additional information, unrestricted access to the person, delay by the management, and unavailability of the person, also unwillingness to provide the information, thus a violation of responsibility of the management in case of audit. Okay, unreasonably brief time within which to complete the audit. Okay, audit வந்து within the short time குள்ள complete பண்ண சொல்றாங்க. This is also a significant difficulties for the auditor to complete the audit. Okay, extensive unexpected effort required to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, unavailability of the expected information. Okay, restriction on imposed on the auditor's scope. Okay, limitation on scope, management's unwillingness to make or extend the assessment of entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Okay, இது வந்து சின்ன சின்ன பாயிண்ட்ஸா தான் வந்து புக்ஸ்ல கொடுத்திருக்கு. கான்செப்ட் புக்ல you have to read the entire question bank to answer in detail in the examination. Okay, the concept book is only to remember the concepts. Okay, answering is based on the question bank only. Okay, question bank 4 times மேல ரிவைஸ் பண்ணிட்டாலே போதும், will be able to answer the question. Okay, question number 3. CA Shelly Goyal is offered appointment as an auditor of RUTE Limited, a listed company. The audit committee of the company wants her to justify independence in relation to the company through a proper communication, although she has ensured that there are no threats to her independence. Okay, independence ke edume illa. She feels requirement of audit committee to be beyond its purview. Okay, auditor எல்லா கம்பெனிஸ் ஆக்ட் எல்லாத்தையும் படிச்சுட்டு போயிருந்தாலும் நம்மளுக்கு இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கொஸ்டின் கேட்பாங்க எக்ஸாம்ல. அவங்களுக்கு அப்பனா இவங்க ஒய் ஷி இஸ் குவாலிஃபைட் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நம்ம ஆன்சர் எழுதிட்டு வரலாம். அப்படின்னு நம்மளால பண்ண முடியாது. எப்படி வந்து சிஏ இவங்க முடிச்சாங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்க முடியாது. அதாவது ஆடிட் கமிட்டிக்கு இது வந்து அந்த பர்வியூல இல்ல அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி சொல்றாங்க. வாட்ஸ் யுவர் ஒப்பீனியன் இன் திஸ் ரிகார்ட்? ஓகே, என்னன்னா ஆடிட் கமிட்டி வந்து requiring the auditor to justify the independence is well within the purview. ஓகே, இது கூட தெரியலனா எப்படி லிஸ்டட் கம்பெனிக்கு ஆடிட்டர் அப்பாயிண்ட் பண்ணாங்க அப்படிங்கிற ஆன்சர் நம்ம எழுத முடியாது. என்ன புக்ல இருக்கோ அதான் எழுதி ஆகும். ஓகே, as required SA 260, in case of listed company, auditor shall communicate with those charged with the governance a statement that engagement team and others in the firm as appropriate firm and when applicable network firm complied with the relevant ethical standard. Okay, bookல வந்து whether the firm and partners, engagement partners complied with the ethical requirement regarding independence அப்படிங்கிற பாயிண்ட் மட்டும் தான் இருக்கும். ஸோ அதர் பாயிண்ட்ஸ்லாம் இங்கே தான் நீங்கள் படிச்சாகணும். ஓகே, இதை எழுதினாலே மார்க் மோஸ்ட்டாக வந்துடும். ஸோ firm has to comply with ethical requirement regarding independence. Okay, all relationship and other matter between the firm, network firm and entity that in the auditor's professionalism may reasonably be thought to bear on independence. Okay, this shall include total fees charged during the period covered by the financial statement for the audit and non-audit services provided by the firm and a network firm to the entity and components. Okay, componentsக்கு வந்து என்னென்ன டோட்டல் ஃபீஸ் சார்ஜ் எவ்வளோன்னு பார்க்கணும். அதில் பிரிக்கணும். என்னன்னா நான் ஆடிட் சர்வீசஸ்க்கு எவ்வளோ ஃபீஸ் சார்ஜ் பண்ணியிருக்கோம், ஆடிட் ஃபீஸ் எவ்வளோ சார்ஜ் பண்ணியிருக்கோம் அப்படிங்கிறத கம்யூனிகேட்டட் டு ஆடிட் கமிட்டி. ஓகே, controlled by the entity. These fees shall be allocated to categories that are appropriate to assist those charged with the governance in assessing the effect of service on the independence of the auditor. Okay, in case of guidance note, fees should not be charged 4 times 3 times அப்படி சொல்லி ஒரு சில கான்செப்ட்ஸ் இருக்கு. ஓகே, we'll discuss in professional ethics chapter. Okay, that's why the allocation of fees, total fees charged for the audit of financial statement and non-audit services, non-audit service fees should not exceed the audit fee. Okay, that is some limit is given in the guidance note. Okay, last point, related safeguard that have been applied to eliminate the threat to the independence or reduce them to an acceptable level. அவ்வளவுதான். Okay, next moving to is within the purview, already we have discussed. Question number 4, CAV is the auditor of leading private sector bank IT systems and control is under the consideration of the reported as a key audit matter in the auditor's report of the bank due to high level of automation and complexity of the IT architecture. It impact the financial reporting system. Okay, when there is a when the matter is considered as a key audit matter, significant matter. Okay, it has to be included in the auditor's report. So at what time he should communicate such identified key audit matter that are relevant to consideration in this regard and their usefulness. Okay, communication shall communicate such identified key audit matters. Okay, as per SA 260, auditor has to communicate with those charged with the governance on a timely basis. As per SA 701, that is key audit matters, state that the appropriate timing for communication of key audit matter will vary within the circumstances of the engagement. However, the auditor may communicate preliminary views about key audit matters when discussing the planned scope timing audit of the may further discuss such matter when communicating about the audit finding. Doing so may help alleviate you the practical challenges of attempting to have a robust two-way dialogue, that is two-way communication about key audit matters at the time of financial statements are being finalized or issuance. அதுக்கு முன்னாடியே வந்து நம்ம கம்யூனிகேட் பண்ணிட்டேன்னா எனி கீ ஆடிட் மேட்டர் ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ணத இது வந்து ஒரு ஃபினான்ஷியல் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் டெட்லைன் அப்போ பண்றத டைம் வந்து குறைச்சிருக்கும். ஓகேவா? நெக்ஸ்ட், communication with those charged with the governance enables them to be made aware of the key audit matters that the auditor intend to communicate in the auditor's report and provide them with an opportunity to obtain a further clarification where necessary. The auditor may consider it useful to provide those charged with the governance with a draft of the auditor report to facilitate this discussion. Okay, draft audit report has to be provided to those charged with the governance before finalization of issue of audit report. So communication with those charged with the governance recognize their importance role in the overseeing the financial reporting process and provides the opportunity for those charged with the governance to understand the basis of auditor's decision in relation to key audit matter and how these matters will be described in the auditor's report. It also enables those charged with governance to consider whether new or enhanced discussion may be useful in light of fact that these matters will be communicated in the auditor's report. Communicating key audit matter is a mandatory requirement as per standards on auditing, okay, in case of listed company. In this case, it's a private sector bank. Okay, let's move to SA 265, communication of significant deficiencies in the internal control to the management and those charged with the governance. In case of SA 265, auditor has a responsibility to communicate with the two parties, that is management and also to the TCWG. First question, the auditor are required to obtain a understanding of the internal control relevant to the audit when identifying, assessing its effectiveness and the risk of material misstatement. During the audit of Acharya Limited, you observed that significant deficiency exists in the internal control system and you want to ascertain the same. Elucidate the various indicators of significant deficiencies in which helps you in assessing the efficiency in the internal control system. Okay, the key word is indicators of significant difficulties. Okay, what are the indicators of significant difficulties? As per SA 265, communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with the governance and management. Indicators of significant deficiencies in the internal control include, for example, these are all example. Okay, you have to study the 4 points. 4 points enough to get 5 marks. The introduction will carry 1 mark and 4 mark for points. First one is ineffective aspects of control environment. Control environment is ineffective. Okay, indication that significant transaction in which the management is financially interested are not being appropriately scrutinized by those charged with the governance. The matters are not scrutinized by those charged with the governance. Okay, significant transactions, event and transactions are not scrutinized by the those charged with governance it is a ineffective aspects of control environment. Also identification of management fraud, whether or not material or not, whether or not material that was not prevented by the entity's internal control. Entity's internal control not prevented or detected the management fraud. It is also an ineffective control in the business, in the entity, that is environment, control environment. Okay, management failure to implement appropriate remedial action on significant deficiency previously communicated. Okay, I have identified in during the start of the audit. Okay, now in the beginning of the audit I have communicated some deficiencies identified. After 2 or 3 months, the management has not implemented the remedial action for deficiencies identified by me. Okay, then this is also one of the example for me, that is there is a indication that there is a significant deficiencies in the internal control, and the implementation பண்ண முடியலங்கறப்போ அவங்களுக்கு கம்பெனி கிட்ட வந்து there is a significant ineffective control environment. Okay, absence of risk assessment process. Okay, ineffective நீங்க 3 பாயிண்ட் தான் மனப்பாடம் பண்ணனும் இல்ல ஈஸியா மனப்பாடம் பண்ணனும் அப்படினா ineffective, ineffective. What are the 3 points in ineffective control environment, ineffective entities risk assessment process, ineffective response to identified significant risk. There are 3 points: control environment, ineffective risk assessment process, ineffective identified significant risk. Okay, 3 points வந்து ineffectively cover ஆயிடும். Okay va, that's it. This point include 3 points. That is, first one is financial interest not scrutinized by the management. Next, second one is management fraud is not detected or prevented by the internal control of the entity. Next one is failure to implement. Okay, நீங்க உங்களோட இங்கிலீஷ் தான் மெயினா வந்து keywords இருக்கணும், அவ்வளவுதான். Ineffective control environment, ineffective entities risk assessment process, ineffective response to identified significant risk. Okay, next point is significant assessment risk assessment process, absence of risk assessment process. Also we have a ineffective risk assessment process. Okay, absence risk assessment process இல்ல, அப்புறம் வந்து ineffective இருக்கிற process ineffective இருக்கு அப்படினாலும் these are all examples for indication of significant deficiencies. Okay, next one is misstatement detected by the auditor. Procedures were not prevented or detected by the entity's internal control. Misstatements identify பண்ணிட்டேன். Those misstatements are not prevented by the entity's internal control. Okay, disclosure of the material misstatement due to fraud or error as prior period item in the current year's financial statement. Okay, misstatements identify பண்ணது வந்து disclosure பண்ணிருக்காங்க, அதுவுமே வந்து current year financial statementல பண்ணிருக்காங்க, அதுவுமே ஒரு example for the significant indicator, significant difficulties in the environment. Evidence of management inability to oversee the preparation of the financial statement. Okay, evidence of management inability to oversee the preparation of the financial statement. Okay, these are all the indicators of significant difficulties in the internal control. Question number 2. During the course of audit, T Limited CAS, a manager in the audit team identified that there is a significant risk in lease transaction due to complex cross-border sale and leaseback agreement. Okay, cross-border transaction, also leaseback agreement. This significant risk or a risk of material misstatement was not identified in the management risk assessment process. Management order risk assessment process la identify பண்ணலாம். Upon the various inquiries with the management regarding the risk assessment process, it was identified and concluded by the audit team that the management risk assessment process is not effective. Same point மேல என்ன படிச்சோமோ அதோட பாயிண்ட்ஸ் வந்து क्वेश्चनல சொல்லிட்டு வராங்க. All significant risk, the CAS decided that in this combination with other potential deficiencies in the internal control constitute a significant deficiency in the internal control, and hence is required to be communicated to those charged with the governance. However, the engagement partner had a different view regarding audit of T Limited. According to him, the only matter that is identified possess the significant deficiency due to their magnitude is only required to be communicated. Matter of potential misstatement that are not actual misstatement cannot be termed as a significant deficiency. You are required to guide. Okay, எது வந்து significant deficiency அப்படிங்கறத கைட் பண்ணணும். அதான் நம்மளோட எய்ம் இது வரைக்கும் கொஸ்டின் படிச்சதுல. ஓகே, CAS with respect to examples of matter that the auditor may consider in determining whether deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in the internal control constitute significant deficiency. Significant deficiency இல்லையாங்கிறத பார்க்கிறதுக்கான பாயிண்ட்ஸ். ஓகே, இதுவும் பார்த்திருந்தோம். என்னென்ன ஆன்சர் மேல இன்ட்ரோடக்ஷன். ஓகே, ஆடிட்டர் காம்பினேஷன் ஆஃப் டெஃபிஷியன்சிஸ் கொஸ்டின்ல கொடுத்த கதையை வந்து மேல ஒரு வாட்டி சும்மா அப்படியே பிரீஃபா எழுதிட்டு, நெக்ஸ்ட் லைக்லிஹுட் ஆஃப் டெஃபிஷியன்சிஸ் லீடிங் டு மெட்டீரியல் மிஸ்டேட்மெண்ட். எதெல்லாம் மெட்டீரியல் மிஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் போகுதோ அதெல்லாம் வந்து சிக்னிஃபிகன்ட் டெஃபிஷியன்சி. ஓகே, எதெல்லாம் சிக்னிஃபிகன்ட் டெஃபிஷியன்சிங்கிறத ஆடிட்டர் ப்ரொஃபஷனல் ஜட்மெண்ட் மூலியமா தான் ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ண முடியும் அப்படிங்கிறதையும் மேல ஒரு லைன் எழுதிடுங்க. ஓகே, ஆன்சரே இல்லைனாலும் உங்களுக்கு அந்த பாயிண்ட்ஸ் வந்து ப்ரொஃபஷனல் ஜட்மெண்ட் படி வருது அப்படின்னு எழுதிடும். லைக்லிஹுட் ஆஃப் டெஃபிஷியன்சி லீடிங் டு மெட்டீரியல் மிஸ்டேட்மெண்ட், susceptibility of losses or a fraud, also subjectivity and complexity of determining the estimated amounts such as fair value accounting estimates, also financial statements amount exposed to deficiencies, volume of activities that has occurred or could occur in the account balances, and classes of transaction exposed to deficiencies or deficiencies. Okay, importance of control into financial reporting. Okay, general monitoring control, control over fraud prevention and detection, control over selection and application of significant accounting policy, and significant transaction with a related party, controls over transaction which are outside the normal course of business, also controls over the period end, that is year end accounting la 1 month or one week before the end of the year 31st March குள்ள accounts வந்து நிறைய கரெக்ஷன் பண்ணிப்பாங்க, அதெல்லாம் வந்து கவர் பண்ணணும். ஓகே, cause or frequency of exceptions arising from the control deficiencies, how the deficiency interact with the other deficiency. Okay, interaction of deficiencies in the internal control with other deficiencies. Okay, அதுவும் பார்க்கணும். Question number 3, during the course of his audit, auditor noticed material weaknesses in the internal control system. He wishes to communicate the same to the management. You are required to elucidate the important points the auditor should keep in mind while drafting the letter of weaknesses in the internal control system. Okay, September 2025 examinationல detailed question ஒன்னு கேட்டாங்க, 4 mark or 5 mark question. Okay, written contents of written communication, that is நேம் வந்து வாட் இஸ் த நேம் ஆஃப் த லெட்டர் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு கேட்பாங்க. இதுக்கு 1 மார்க். ஓகேவா, லெட்டர் ஆஃப் வீக்னஸஸ் இது எதனா போதும். ஓகே, as per SA 265, communicating deficiencies in the control to those charged with governance and management, the auditor shall include a written communication of significant deficiencies in the control, that is description எதனும். First one is description of deficiencies and explanation of their potential effect. Okay, description about the matter. நீங்க ஒரு விஷயம் பேச போறீங்கன்னா அதோட அந்த இன்ஃபர்மேஷனோட டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் இருக்கணும். ஓகேவா, எந்த ஒரு இன்ஃபர்மேஷனா இருந்தாலும் நீங்க ஏதோ ஒன்று சொல்ல போறீங்க, ஒரு டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் அபவுட் த மேட்டர் இருக்கணும். அந்த மேட்டரால வர பொட்டன்ஷியல் எஃபெக்ட். ஓகேவா, நார்மலாவே ஆடிட்டர்ஸ் நோஸ் தட் டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் அபவுட் எனி மேட்டர், டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் சொல்லணும். ஏதாவது ஒரு மேட்டர் கம்யூனிகேட் பண்றதுனால டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் அபவுட் த மேட்டர் சொல்லுவோம். அப்புறம் அதனால வர சைட் எஃபெக்ட்ஸ். ஓகே, அதான் பொட்டன்ஷியல் எஃபெக்ட்னு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. ஓகே, sufficient information to enable those charged with the governance and management to understand the context of the communication. எதுக்காக கம்யூனிகேட் பண்ணிருக்கோம், அவங்களுக்கு வந்து கொஞ்சம் அறிவு தான் இருக்குன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன். உங்ககிட்ட தான் அதிகமான அறிவு இருக்கு. அவங்களுக்கு புரியணும்னா என்ன பண்ணணும், சஃபிஷியன்ட் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் கொடுக்கணும். ஓகே, டீடைல்டு இன்ஃபர்மேஷனா கொடுக்கணும். ஓகேவா, புரிஞ்சுதா? இந்த 2 பாயிண்ட் எழுதுனா 2 மார்க், 1 மார்க், 3 மார்க், அப்புறம் இதுக்கு ஒரு 2 மார்க், 5 மார்க் கொஸ்டின். ஓகே, in other words, the auditor should communicate material weaknesses to the management or audit committee, if any, on a timely basis. Communication should be preferably in writing through letter of weaknesses or management letter. Okay, letter of weaknesses சொல்லலாம், இல்ல management letter சொல்லலாம். Important points with regards to such letters are following. Okay, list out the areas of weaknesses, and offer suggestions for the improvement. என்னெல்லாம் இம்ப்ரூவ்மெண்ட் பண்ணலாம் அப்படிங்கறதை பத்தி சொல்லணும். அப்புறம் செகண்ட் பாயிண்ட், it should be clearly indicate it discuss only weaknesses. ஓகே, நான் லெட்டர் ஆஃப் வீக்னஸஸ்ன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அதுல வந்து இந்த ஏரியா நல்லா இருக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்ல முடியுமா? ஹியூமன் ரிசோர்ஸ் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் வந்து இந்த கம்பெனில நல்லா இருக்கு, இந்த கம்பெனில வந்து மானிட்டரிங் வந்து கரெக்டா பண்றாங்க, எல்லா ப்ராஜெக்ட்ஸும் வந்து கரெக்டா பண்றாங்க அப்படிங்கிறதெல்லாம் நான் சொல்ல முடியுமா? சொல்ல முடியாது. ஒன்லி வீக்னஸஸ், இதுக்கு பேரே லெட்டர் ஆஃப் வீக்னஸஸ். ஸோ ஒன்லி கம்யூனிகேட் வீக்னஸஸ் இன் த entity which are came to the attention of the auditor. Okay, this letter serves as a valuable document for the management for the purpose of revising the system and insisting on the strict implementation பண்றதுக்கு யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கணும். It will minimize the legal liability. Okay, any non compliances வந்து internal control வந்து கரெக்டா இருந்ததுனாலே some liability குறைக்கிறதுக்கு chances இருக்கு. Okay, let's move to SA 299. Let's move to SA 299. Question number 1. D Limited appointed 2CA firm. D Limited appointed 2CA firm, MN Associates, PQ and Company, as a joint auditor for conducting an audit for the year ended 31st March 2019. In the course of audit, it has been observed that there is a major understatement in the valuation of inventory. The inventory valuation work was looked after by MN and Associate, but there was no documentation for the division of work between the joint auditors. Okay, it is a violation of SA 299. Okay, SA 299 la work allocation should be documented. Okay, as per SA 299, the joint auditor should document the work allocation, division of work வந்து document பண்ணணும். Then only the audit firm should aware of the responsibilities. Okay, அப்புறம் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டி வந்து தட்டி கழிச்சிட்டு போயிடலாம், ஈஸியா வந்து நான் இதுக்கு பொறுப்பு இல்லை அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு போக முடியும். So it has to be documented. Okay, division of work should be documented. இங்க வந்து டாக்குமெண்ட் பண்ணல. Comment on the above situation with regards to responsibility among the joint auditors. Okay, M Interior Limited is a listed company engaged in the manufacturing of office furniture. The company has its activities divided into 4 geographic regions. The company has appointed 2 joint auditors, namely ABC and company, AB and company, CD and company, to conduct the joint audit of the financial statement of the company for the year ending 31st 3 2023. The engagement partner of both the firms, CA Amar and CA Chaitanya, along with their audit teams, had a meeting to discuss the areas of work to be divided and their respective responsibility. Explain the responsibility of joint auditor with regards to such joint audit. Same answer தான் ரெண்டு கொஸ்டினுக்குமே. So டாக்குமெண்ட் பண்ணணும். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கொஸ்டின்ல டாக்குமெண்ட் பண்ணல, அது டாக்குமெண்ட் பண்ணாத வயலேஷன் சொல்லிடணும். ஆல்சோ வாட் இஸ் த ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டிஸ் ஆஃப் த ஆடிட்டர்? ஓகே, ஒர்க் விச் இஸ் நாட் டிவைடடா இருந்தா severally responsible. Okay, jointly and severally responsible. Individual are responsible for the work allocated to them. Okay, as per SA 299 joint audit of the financial statement, the joint auditors are appointed. They should mutual discussion divide the work among themselves. The division of work could usually be the terms of audit identifiable units or a specified area. Okay, mutual discussion எதுக்காக வைக்கிறாங்க? யாரோட ஏரியாஸ், என்னென்ன ஏரியா, அந்த ஏரியா இந்த ஏரியா, எந்தெந்த ஏரியாவை நம்ம பார்க்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு தான் வந்து மியூச்சுவல் டிஸ்கஷன் வச்சு, ஓகே உங்களுக்கு இந்த ஏரியா எனக்கு இந்த ஏரியாங்கிறத பிரிக்கிறதுக்காக தான் வந்து நம்ம மியூச்சுவல் டிஸ்கஷன் வைக்கணும். ஓகேவா? இன் சம் கேசஸ் due to nature of the business entity under audit, such division of work may not be possible. Sometimes வந்து ஒரு சில work வந்து may not be possible. In such a situation, the division of work may be with reference to the items of the assets and liabilities or income expenditure with reference to period of time or at geographical area இருக்கும். Adequately, it should be adequately documented, preferably communicated to the entity also. Okay, documentation should be done and also it should be communicated to the TCWG in the planning stage itself. Okay, in respect of the audit of work divided among the joint auditor, each joint auditor is responsible only for the work allocated to him. எனக்கு கொடுத்த வேலைக்கு நான் மட்டும் தான் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிள். Okay, work which is not allocated to each auditor is other auditors, all auditors are responsible which are not divided. Okay, in case of, in other hand, all joint auditors jointly and severally responsible for the following: the audit work which is not divided among the joint auditors and carried out by all the joint auditors. Decision taken by decision taken by all joint auditors under the planning phase and also the audit strategy, timing, extent of audit procedure to be performed by the each of the auditor. Also the matter which is brought to the notice of the all the joint auditor. Okay, all the joint auditor, any one of the, there is a agreement among the joint auditors. Okay, any matter brought to the notice of the joint auditors are the same matters also all the joint auditors are responsible. Okay, examining the financial statement of the entities comply with the requirement of the relevant statutes. Okay, relevant statutes, கம்பெனிஸ் ஆக்ட் படி பண்றோம் அல்ல இன்கம் டாக்ஸ் ஆக்ட் படி ஆடிட் பண்றோம்னா அந்த ரிலவெண்ட் ஸ்டாட்டஸ்க்கு ஏத்த ரெக்குயர்மெண்ட் வந்து கம்ப்ளை பண்ணிருக்கோமா அப்படிங்கறதையும் எக்ஸாமின் பண்ணணும். இட் இஸ் அ காமன் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டி. ஓகே, preparation and disclosure of financial statement as per applicable financial reporting framework. Okay, management வந்து management preparation and disclosure of financial statement as required by the applicable financial reporting framework இல்லையாங்கிறது செக் பண்றதுமே வந்து joint auditors, all the joint auditors are responsible. Okay, ensuring that the audit reports comply with the requirements of the relevant statute, the applicable standard on auditing, and other relevant pronouncement issued by the ICI. Okay, joint auditors will also discuss the documentation nature, timing, extent of audit procedure, common and specific allocated areas of work performed by the each joint auditor, and the same shall be communicated to the TCWG. After identification of the allocation of work among the joint auditors, the work allocation document shall be signed by all the joint auditors and the same shall be communicated to TCWG. This is very, very important point. After identification of and allocation of work, all the joint auditor has to sign the work allocation document and also it has to be communicated to TCWG. Hence, in respect of the work divided among the joint auditor, each joint auditor shall be responsible for the only work such as which is allocated to such joint auditor, including proper execution of the audit procedures. Okay, in the instant case, D Limited appointed two CFM MN and Associate PQ and Company as a joint auditor for conducting an audit. It has observed that during the course of the audit, there is a major understatement in the valuation of inventory. The inventory valuation was looked after by MN and Associate. In the view of SA 299, MN and Associate will be responsible for the same as the inventory valuation was looked by the MN and Associate only. Further, the violation of SA 299 as a division of work was not documented. Okay, it is the ultimate responsibility of MN and Associate, and also the work is not documented. It is a violation of SA 299. Okay, ethical requirement has to be complied with. Ethical compliance should be followed by chartered accountants in practice. Okay, what is ethical compliance? SQC 1 follow பண்ணும். SQC 1 என்ன சொல்லுது? Comply with all relevant standards. Okay, ethical requirementல comply with all relevant standard follow பண்ணணும். Okay, main objective of SC 200 is also comply with standards on auditing while conducting an audit. Okay, so SA 299 is violated by the MN company and PQ and company. Okay, question number 2. 4 audit firm was GPR company, MKS and company, CY associates, DES associate have been appointed for conducting audit of KNB bank. Okay, bank, a public sector bank in accordance with the regulatory guidelines. The professional work was divided by the audit firm on the basis of zones of the bank. Okay, north, south, அந்த மாதிரி zone wise அவங்க வந்து work allocation பண்ணுங்க geographical basis. However, the work relating to IT system and control was not allocated by them due to its very nature. Okay, while planning of the above common work area, it has decided to test internal controls application and controls and IT dependent manual control. Planned key audit procedures relating to the common area include testing, designing, and operating effectiveness of controls over the computer operation, including backup, batch processing, and data center security. The actual audit procedure pertaining to testing controls over the batch processing were performed by the team of DES and Associate. In case of work in relation to above, audit procedure is not performed professionally by DES Associate. Discuss where responsibility for such labs it live in line with SA 299. Okay, என்னன்னா 4 audit firm இருக்கு. Professional work வந்து divided on the basis of zone wise. However, the work relating to IT system and control was not allocated by them due to its very nature. While planning on the above common work area, it is a common work area. It was decided to test the general controls, also application controls, IT dependent manual controls. Okay, 3 கண்ட்ரோலையும் செக் பண்றணும்னு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. Planned key audit procedure relating to common area are also included in the testing the designing operating effectiveness of controls over the computer operation and backup, batch processing, and data center security. The actual audit procedure pertaining to testing of control over batch processing were performed by team of DSC and associates. In case work in relation to the above audit procedure is not performed professionally by DE and S associate, this case where responsibility laps would lie in line with SA 299. ஓகே, இங்க வந்து ஒர்க் இஸ் நாட் டிவைடட். ஓகே, ஒர்க் எதெல்லாம் டிவைட் பண்ணாங்களோ அதுக்கெல்லாம் இண்டிவிஜுவல் ஆடிட்டர்ஸ் ஆர் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிள். ஓகே, இன் திஸ் கேஸ் டிஇஎஸ் வந்து ப்ரொஃபஷனலா ஹேண்டில் பண்ணலன்னு சொல்றான். இவன் ஹேண்டில் பண்ணலனாலும் ஆல் த 4 firm is responsible for the common work allocated area. Work which is not divided வந்து all the auditors are responsible. Okay, in respect of common area, joint auditors are only responsible for appropriateness of nature, timing, extent of planned audit procedure agreed among them. The responsibility of individual execution lies with the concerned joint auditor. In the instant case, the audit procedure relating to testing of designing operating effectiveness of control over the computer operation, including batch processing, data center scrutiny, has been planned jointly as it is a common area. Okay, however, the audit procedure relating to test of control over batch processing were actually performed by team of DES and associate, although these were planned jointly. In case of lapse in performing such procedure, DES and associate be responsible. The actual audit procedure pertaining to testing of controls over the batch processing were performed by the team of DES and associates. Performed by DES and associate இருந்தாலுமே in case of any lapse in performing the audit procedure, DES and relating to testing of control batch actually performed VS and associate planned, although these were planned jointly. In case of any lapse in performing the procedure, work which is not allocated. Okay, common ஏரியாவா இருக்கு. Okay, the incident case procedure relating to testing a design and control over the computer operation, including backup batch processing, okay, data center scrutiny, have been planned jointly. However, actually performed by okay, planning ஸ்டேஜ்ல கம்யூனிகேட் பண்ணல, பட் ஆடிட் பர்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணது வந்து DES and associates. Okay, there is a confusion in this question. Okay, let's move to another question. Next question. I think all this 4 firm is responsible in case of work is not allocated. Okay, but the work is performed by DS and associate, then the DS and associate is responsible. Although this were the plan பண்றப்ப jointly இருக்கு, ஆனா perform பண்றப்போ இண்டிவிஜுவலா இருக்கு. ஸோ பர்ஃபார்மன்ஸை பேஸ் பண்ணி தான் எஸ்ஐ சொல்லுதா இல்லை பிளான் பண்ணும்போது நடக்கிறதா அப்படிங்கிறது கொஞ்சம் கன்ஃபியூஷனாக இருக்கு. ஸோ நல்லா ரிசர்ச் பண்ணிட்டு இதுக்கான ஆன்சர் கரெக்டா இல்லையாங்கிறத சொல்றேன். ஓகே, மோஸ்டா வந்து ஐசிஐ ஆன்சர் தான் இது. ஸோ ஐசிஐ ஆன்சர் தான் ஃபாலோ பண்ணணும். ப்ரொவிஷன்ஸ் வந்து கரெக்டா படிச்சுட்டு சொல்றேன். ஓகே, கொஸ்டின் நம்பர் 3. எக்ஸலன்ட் பேங்க் லிமிடெட் public limited company. The said bank has various branches all over India. The bank combines 3 joint auditors. Okay, 3 joint auditors for the financial year ending 31st/3/2024. All the 3 joint auditors divide the work with the mutual consent. Verification of consolidation, however, remained undivided. Okay, verification of consolidation is not divided among the auditors. All the branches and zone were divided among us three joint auditors during the audit of zones. CA is that one of the joint auditor expressed concern about internal control in the one of the expressed concern about the internal control one of the large corporate branches situated in his zone. Irregularity was not reported in the final accounts as the other two joint auditors were not in favor of the reporting. The decision of not reporting the same was taken on the basis of majority. Majority இந்த கொஸ்டின் வந்து அடிக்கடி கேட்குறாங்க. மெஜாரிட்டியை நாட் பவுண்ட் டு த வியூஸ் ஆஃப் மெஜாரிட்டி அந்த ஒரு பாயிண்ட் தெரிஞ்சிருந்தாலே போதும். கன்ஃபார்மாக இந்த கொஸ்டினுக்கு எல்லாருமே வந்து 3 to 4 marks வாங்க விடுவோம். ஓகே. Subsequently, fraud has been detected in the said branch, which was audited by CAZ. The bank seeks your advice about responsibility of the three joint auditor in the above situation. Okay. As per SA 299, joint audit of financial statement lays down the principles of effective conduct of an audit to achieve the overall objective of the auditor, lays down in SA 200. As per SA 299, where the joint auditors are appointed, they should by mutual discussion divide the work among themselves, and it should be documented and signed by all the joint auditors and communicated to TCWG. Accordingly, with respect to work divided among the joint auditor, each joint auditor shall responsible only for the work allocated to such joint auditor, including the proper execution of the audit procedure. On the other hand, the joint auditors are jointly and severally responsible for the work which is not divided among the joint auditors and carried out by all the joint auditors. Okay, and carried out by all joint auditors. Okay, in the above question lab, carried out by DE and associate. So it is responsibility of the DE and associate. இங்க வந்து and class ஒன்னு இருக்கு. Okay, work which is not divided but carried out by all joint auditors. மேல வந்து என்னது carried out by only DES and associates. So there is a clarification that work which is carried out by DE and associates. So DES and associate is responsible. Okay, the matter which is brought to the notice of the joint auditor by one of them and on which there is a agreement among the joint auditors. Okay, disagreement பண்ணிருக்காங்க ஆனா agreement இல்ல. In the present case, three joint auditors divided the work with the mutual consent except for the verification of consolidation which remained undivided. Hence the accounts with SA 299, all the joint auditors are responsible for the same. Okay, the reporting responsibilities in case of difference of opinion, joint auditors are required to issue a common audit report in case of normal case, common audit report. Also, in case of any disagreement among the joint auditors with regard to their opinion, any matter to be covered by the audit report may express opinion in a separate audit report. Okay, joint auditor is not bound by the views of majority of the joint auditors with regarding the opinion or matter to be covered in the audit report and shall express opinion from same said joint auditor in the separate audit report in such disagreement. In such a case, a separate audit report are issued by the joint auditors shall make a reference to this separate auditor's report issued by the other joint auditors. Okay, as per SA 706, reference should be made in the other matter paragraph. Okay, as per SA 706. Okay, next. In the present case, CAZ, one of the joint auditor, expressed a concern about internal control in the one of the large corporate branch situated in its zone. Irregularity was not reported in the final accounts as the two other were not in favor of the reporting. The decision of not reporting the same was taken on the basis of majority. Subsequently, the fraud was detected in the said branch, which was audited by CAZ. Conclusion: CAZ was required to issue a separate audit report. He is not bound by the views of majority of other auditors. CAZ will be held responsible for non-reporting of the above matter. Okay, Z தான் வந்து ரிப்போர்ட் பண்ணணும். அவங்க சொல்றாங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அதை இக்னோர் பண்ணிட்டு போக கூடாது. He only responsible for the his zone. Okay, question number 4. NMN and company, LLP and ABC and associates LLP were joint auditor statutory auditor of BHS Limited. BHS Limited is a listed company and has been in existence for last 50 years since the beginning of this company was audited by MQS and associate, but that due to audit rotation, the company had to bring in new auditors. Considering the size of the company, two auditors were appointed as a joint auditor. Since the company is new to these auditors, the concept of joint auditors to whom the audit work has been divided, the management had discussion and understood that the each joint auditor is responsible only for the work allocated to him, whether or not he has prepared a separate report on the work performed by him. Okay. Next, as per SA 299, joint audit of financial statement deals with the professional responsibility with the auditor to undertake accepting the appointment as a joint auditor. The joint auditors are required to issue a common audit report. However, where the joint auditors are is in disagreement with regards to opinion or any matter to be covered by the audit report, express their opinion in a separate audit report. Any disagreement in this should be communicated with in a separate audit report. Okay. Considering the okay question புரிஞ்சுதா MN NMN LLP and ABC and associate joint auditor of BHS Limited. BHS Limited is a listed company, has been existence for 50 years. Since the beginning of the company was audited by MQC and associate, but due to audit rotation, the company has to bring the new auditors. Considering the size of the company, two auditors were appointed as a joint auditor. Since the company is new to these auditors, concept of joint audit to whom the work was been divided, the management has discussion and understand that each joint auditor is responsible only for the work allocated to him, whether or not he prepared separate audit report on his work performed by him. Okay. The joint auditors are not bound by the views of majority. Okay, the same point. Reference to be made in the other matter paragraph as per SA 706. Okay, carry out the audit work. Work has actually been performed in accordance with the standards on auditing. Also, it is not necessary for the joint auditor to review the work performed by other joint auditor. Okay. Before finalizing the audit report, the joint auditor discuss and communicate each other the respective conclusion would form the form and conduct the audit report. Okay, common report issue பண்ணாங்கன்னா ரெண்டு பேரும் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணி இஷ்யூ பண்ணிப்பாங்க. Okay, question number 5. Last question. Question number 5. A, B, and C are joint auditors of the company. B is of the opinion that there was a material misstatement in the financial statement of the company, which, if the accounted for, would turn profit reflected in financial statement for a 25 crore to a loss of 5 crore. Okay. These are material misstatement in the finances. There are material misstatement in the financial statement of the company, which, if accounted for, would turn profit reflected in this profit and loss account 25 crore. And the misstatement இருக்கிறது வந்து turns out to 5 crore. Okay, 25 crore இருக்கு, ப்ராஃபிட்ல இருக்கு. அந்த misstatement வந்து கவர் பண்ணா 5 crore losses போகுது. Okay, he therefore wants an adverse opinion to be expressed in the audit report. However, AB do not concur his view and are instilled to accept the management's version. Is B required to go by the majority of the opinion? Same question. Majority போகக்கூடாது, separate opinion தான் issue பண்ணும். Other matter paragraphல சொல்லணும். Not bound by the views of majority. Okay, separate opinion வந்து issue பண்ணணும். Okay, separate audit report has to be given. That's it. SA 200 series is over. Thank you.